She smiled across the table and said, "Julian S. back, we retrying again." I Saturday frozen, remembering 2 years of night calls, doctor visits, and every tear I dried. Then I paid the check, smiled politely. I 29M spent 2 years helping her 27 heal from heartbreak. Tonight she told me her ex is back and we should stay friends. I am sitting in my car outside the restaurant where my heart just got shattered. And I need to write this down before I lose my mind. 2 years ago, I met Serena at a mutual friend's party. She had just gone through a brutal breakup with her boyfriend Julian, a guy who apparently strung her along for 3 years before deciding he was not ready for commitment and wanted to explore his options. She was devastated, barely holding it together, and something about her vulnerability just drew me in. I did not approach her romantically at first. She was clearly in no state for that. And I am not the kind of guy who preys on women when they are down. But we became friends. And over the following months, I found myself falling for her completely. She is everything I have ever wanted in a partner: intelligent, funny, kind, passionate about her work as a graphic designer. But she was also broken, constantly questioning her worth because of how Julian had treated her. So I made it my mission to show her how incredible she was. For 2 years, I have been there for every panic attack, every 2 a.m. breakdown, every moment when she doubted herself. I have taken her to doctor appointments when her anxiety was too bad to drive. I have brought her soup when she was sick. I have listened to her cry about Julian literally hundreds of times. I never pushed for more because I could see she was not ready. I told myself that patience would pay off, that eventually she would heal enough to see what was right in front of her. My friends kept telling me I was wasting my time, that she was using me as an emotional crutch, but I believed in us. 3 weeks ago, something changed. She seemed lighter, happier, more like the person I imagined she was before Julian destroyed her confidence. She started texting me more, wanting to hang out more often, even suggesting activities that felt almost like dates. When she asked me to dinner tonight at our favorite restaurant, I thought this was it. I thought she was finally ready to take the next step. I had planned to tell her how I felt. I have been practicing the words for weeks, imagining how I would explain that I loved her not because she needed rescuing, but because of who she is when she is not drowning in someone else's damage. We ordered our usual dishes, and she seemed excited about something but nervous. I thought she was feeling the same anticipation I was. When dessert came, I took a deep breath and started to speak. "Serena, there is something I have been wanting to tell you for a long time, Adrian." "Wait," she interrupted, and the look on her face made my stomach drop. "I have something to tell you, too. Julian reached out last week. The world stopped. He said he made a terrible mistake," she continued, not noticing that I had gone completely still. "He wants to try again. He has been in therapy, working on himself, and he realizes now what he lost when he let me go." I could not speak. I could not breathe. I just sat there watching the woman I had spent 2 years loving tell me about getting back together with the man who had destroyed her. "I know this might be weird for you," she said, "but you have been such an amazing friend through everything. I hope we can stay friends. You mean so much to me, Adrian. I do not know what I would have done without you these past 2 years, friend." After 2 years of being her emotional support, her safe harbor, her constant source of reassurance and love, I was her friend. "So you are getting back together with him?" I finally managed to ask. "We are going to take it slow," she said, practically glowing. "But yes, I think so. I know he hurt me before, but people can change, right? And what we had was so intense, so passionate. I have never felt that way about anyone else." She had never felt that way about anyone else, including me. Despite 2 years of me showing her unconditional love and support, I was not even in the running. "Are you okay?" she asked, finally noticing my expression. "You look pale." "I am fine," I lied. "I am happy for you." The rest of dinner was a blur. She talked about Julian's apology letter, about how mature he seemed now, about how she was nervous but excited to see where things went. I nodded and smiled and made appropriate responses while dying inside. When the check came, I insisted on paying. It seemed fitting somehow. My final act as the guy who had given everything and gotten nothing in return. Outside the restaurant, she hugged me tight and said, "Thank you for being the best friend a girl could ask for." I am so lucky to have you in my life. Best friend. That is all I have ever been to her, and that is all I will ever be. I drove her home like I have done countless times before, but this time felt different. This time, I knew it was the last time I would do it as someone who hoped for more. She kissed my cheek goodbye and said, "I will call you tomorrow and tell you how things go with Julian." I said okay, but I will not be answering that call. I realize now that my friends were right. I was not her almost boyfriend waiting for the right moment. I was her emotional support system, her placeholder, until something better came along. She never saw me as a romantic possibility because in her mind, I was safe, reliable Adrian, who would always be there to pick up the pieces. But Julian was passion and excitement, and all the things that make your heart race. It does not matter that he already broke her heart once, because apparently broken hearts heal better when they are broken by someone who makes you feel alive. I feel like such an idiot. 2 years of my life spent believing that kindness and patience and genuine love would win out over whatever toxic connection she had with him. 2 years of turning down dates with other women because I was committed to someone who was never committed to me. The worst part is that she has no idea she just crushed me. In her mind, she shared good news with her friend, and he was happy for her. She will probably call Julian tonight and tell him about dinner, about how supportive I was, about what a good friend I am. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot be her friend while she falls in love with someone else all over again. I cannot listen to her gush about the man who will get everything I wanted to give her. I cannot be there to comfort her when he inevitably breaks her heart again, because we both know he will. Tomorrow I am going to text her that I need some space to focus on my own life. I am not going to explain why, because she would not understand anyway. To her, this is not a rejection. This is just good news she wanted to share with a friend. But to me, this is the end of the most important relationship I have ever had, even though it was never really a relationship at all. I loved her through her healing, and now that she is healed enough to love someone else, that someone is not me. I guess that is the risk you take when you love someone who is broken. Sometimes they heal into someone who does not need you anymore. Update 1. I wanted to update you all on what has happened since that devastating dinner. Your responses to my original post were a wake-up call I desperately needed, even though it hurt to read them at the time. The day after the dinner, I sent Serena a text saying I needed to take some time to focus on my own life and goals. I told her I would not be as available as I had been before, but that I wished her well with Julian. She responded immediately, asking if she had done something wrong and if we could talk about it. When I did not respond right away, she called. I let it go to voicemail. In her message, she sounded genuinely confused and hurt. She said our friendship meant everything to her and she could not understand why I was pulling away right when she was finally happy again. She promised she would not let Julian interfere with our friendship and begged me to call her back. That message made something click for me. She was not worried about losing me as a person. She was worried about losing her emotional support system. She wanted to have her passionate romance with Julian and her stable, reliable friendship with me. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too. I did not call her back. Over the next 2 weeks, she texted me sporadically, updates about her life, funny memes, invitations to events I would normally have joined her for. I responded politely but briefly, giving her just enough to maintain basic courtesy but nothing more. The change in dynamic was immediate and eye-opening. Without me constantly available to listen to her problems, validate her feelings, and provide emotional labor, our interactions became superficial. Turns out that when you take away the therapist role, there is not much foundation left for friendship. Meanwhile, I started doing things I had not done in 2 years. I went out with other friends without checking if Serena needed anything first. I signed up for a hiking group and a photography class. I even went on a few dates with a woman I met at a coffee shop. It was like emerging from a fog I did not even realize I had been living in. 3 weeks after I stepped back, Serena showed up at my apartment unannounced. She looked upset, and my old instincts almost kicked in before I reminded myself that her emotions were not my responsibility anymore. Adrian, what is going on? She said the moment I opened the door. You have been so distant, and I miss talking to you. Did I do something wrong? I invited her in because it seemed cruel to have this conversation in the hallway. But I did not offer her the usual comfort of tea and a soft place to land. You did not do anything wrong, I told her. I just realized I needed to create some boundaries for my own well-being. Boundaries. We are friends? Adrian. Friends do not need boundaries. That statement told me everything I needed to know about how she viewed our relationship. In her mind, being friends meant I should be endlessly available to support her without any consideration for what that cost me. Actually, healthy friendships do have boundaries, I said, and I realized that ours did not. She looked confused, so I explained. I told her that for 2 years, our friendship had been completely one-sided. I had been there for every crisis, every celebration, every mundane Tuesday when she was bored. But when was the last time she had asked how I was doing, and actually listened to the answer? That is not true, she protested. I care about you. I ask about your life all the time. When? I asked. When did you last ask about my work, my family, my goals, my problems? When did you last offer to help me with something? She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. We both knew she could not think of an example. I have been your emotional support system, not your friend, I continued. Friends support each other. What we had was me supporting you while you took it for granted. That is not fair, she said, getting defensive. I never asked you to do all those things. You chose to help me. She was right, and that made it worse. I had chosen to give and give and give, hoping it would eventually be reciprocated, or at least appreciated. Instead, it had become so normal that she stopped seeing it as extraordinary. You are right, I said. I chose to do those things, and now I am choosing to stop. That is when she started crying, and I felt the familiar urge to comfort her. But I forced myself to stay seated, to let her process her emotions without rushing to fix them. I do not understand why you are being so cruel, she said through her tears. I thought you cared about me. I do care about you, I said. That is why this conversation is so hard. But caring about someone does not mean sacrificing your own well-being to manage their emotions. So that is it. You are just going to throw away 2 years of friendship because I got back together with Julian. There it was. She did know why I was pulling back, even if she did not want to admit it. This is not about Julian, I said, though we both knew that was only partially true. This is about me realizing that I was giving more than I could afford to give, and you were taking more than you should have been taking. She left that night angry and hurt, but also thoughtful in a way I had not seen before. I think it was the first time someone had ever told her no without apologizing for it. Update 2, I heard through mutual friends that things with Julian were going well at first, but apparently he had not changed as much as she hoped. He was still the same guy who prioritized his own needs above hers. Except now she did not have me to call when he disappointed her. 2 weeks ago, she texted me asking if we could grab coffee and talk through our issues like adults. I agreed, partly out of curiosity, and partly because I genuinely wanted closure. She looked different when I saw her. More tired, less confident. She apologized for taking me for granted and admitted that she had not realized how much emotional labor I had been doing until it was gone. I miss having you in my life, she said. Can we try to be friends again? Real friends this time. I appreciate the apology, I told her, but I do not think we can go back to being friends. Why not? I said I would do better. Because friendship requires mutual interest and investment, I said. And honestly, when I really think about it, I do not think we have that much in common beyond me helping you through problems. It was harsh but true. Take away the crisis management and emotional support, and what did we actually share? Different interests, different values, different ways of approaching relationships and life. So that is it, she asked. 2 years of friendship, just over. 2 years of me being in love with you and you needing emotional support. I corrected gently. Now that I am not in love with you anymore and you do not need my support, there is not much left to build on. She looked shocked. You were in love with me, even after everything she had not realized. That told me everything I needed to know about how different our experiences of those 2 years had been. I explained that yes, I had been in love with her, and that the dinner where she told me about Julian was supposed to be when I confessed my feelings. I told her that stepping back had been necessary for me to move on and find my own happiness. I had no idea, she said quietly. I thought you just wanted to be friends. I know, I said, and that is exactly the problem. You never considered that I might have deeper feelings because you never really looked at me as anything other than a support system. We talked for another hour. And by the end, I think she finally understood why our friendship could not continue the way it had been. She asked if we could maybe try again in the future. When enough time had passed, I told her honestly that I did not think so. I am not angry with her anymore, but I also do not see a path back to any kind of meaningful relationship. We are fundamentally incompatible as friends, and we were never going to be compatible as anything more. As for me, I am doing better than I have in years. The woman I have been dating is kind, independent, and genuinely interested in my life. She does not need me to fix her problems, but she wants me to share her joys and challenges. It is a completely different dynamic, and it has shown me what healthy love actually looks like. I learned that love is not about proving your worth through endless giving. It is not about waiting patiently for someone to notice your devotion. Real love is mutual, balanced, and builds both people up instead of draining one person to fill the other. Serena taught me valuable lessons, just not the ones I expected to learn. I am grateful for that, even if I am not grateful for the pain it took to learn them. Final update: it has been almost a year since my last update, and I honestly thought this chapter of my life was closed forever. But Serena reached out last week, and I figured you all deserve to know how this story truly ends. First, let me update you on my life. The woman I was dating when I wrote my last update and I have been together for 10 months now. Her name is Maya, and she is everything I did not know I was looking for. She is a veterinarian, loves hiking and photography like I do. And most importantly, she sees relationships as partnerships rather than rescue missions. When I told her about my history with Serena early in our relationship, her response was immediate understanding followed by gentle concern that I might still be carrying emotional baggage. But as our relationship developed, it became clear that I had genuinely moved on. What I felt for Serena was not love, it was obsession mixed with a savior complex. My career has taken off as well. I got promoted to senior project manager 6 months ago, bought a house 3 months ago, and Maya and I are talking about moving in together next year. I am happier and more confident than I have ever been. Which brings me to last week. Serena texted me out of nowhere on a Tuesday evening, just, "Hi, Adrian. I know it has been a long time. Can we talk?" I showed the message to Maya, who raised an eyebrow and said, "Let me guess. Things with Julian did not work out." She was right, of course. Through mutual friends, I had heard that Serena and Julian had tried to make it work for several months after my last update, but old patterns die hard. He went back to being emotionally unavailable and prioritizing other things over their relationship. They finally broke up for good about 6 months ago. I was curious enough to respond, so I texted back, "What about?" Her reply was long and took 3 separate messages to send. She said she had been doing a lot of thinking about our friendship and how it ended. She said she had started therapy after Julian, and she broke up the second time, and her therapist had helped her understand how much she had taken me for granted. She wanted to apologize properly and see if there was any possibility of rebuilding our friendship. Part of me felt vindicated. After all those months of her not understanding why I had pulled away, she finally got it. But mostly, I just felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no lingering feelings, just a vague sadness for time that could not be recovered. I agreed to meet for coffee, mainly because I believed in closure and thought we both deserved a real conversation about what had happened. She looked good when I saw her, healthier, more put together than during those dark months after her first breakup with Julian. She immediately apologized for how she had handled our friendship, acknowledging that it had been one-sided, and that she had used me as emotional support without giving anything back. "I did not realize how much you were sacrificing for me," she said. "I thought you were just being a good friend, but my therapist helped me see that what I was asking from you was not fair." I appreciated the apology, but what struck me was how different I felt sitting across from her. 2 years ago, she was the most important person in my world. Now she felt like an acquaintance I was catching up with out of politeness. "I also realize now that you were in love with me," she continued. "And I am sorry I was so oblivious to that. I was so wrapped up in my own pain that I could not see what was right in front of me." "Thank you for saying that. I said. It means a lot to hear you acknowledge it. Then came the part I had been expecting. I know this might be presumptuous, she said, but I have been wondering if we could try being friends again. Real friends this time, with better boundaries and more balance. I had thought about how to answer this question if it came up, but sitting there looking at her, the answer was easier than I expected. I do not think that would be a good idea, I said. Because you are still angry with me. No, I am not angry anymore. But we do not actually have anything in common except shared history. And most of that history is painful for both of us. She looked confused, so I explained. When I really examined our relationship objectively, we had different interests, different values, and different ways of approaching life. The only thing that had kept us connected was her need for support, and my willingness to provide it. But we could build new common ground, she said. We could find new things to bond over. Maybe, I said. But I do not want to. I am in a relationship with someone who fulfills all my emotional and social needs. I have a full life with friends who share my interests and values. There is not really room for a friendship that would require starting from scratch. That was when she asked the question I could see coming from the moment she texted me. What if it was not just friendship? What if we tried something more? I was not surprised, but I was disappointed. Despite all her talk about therapy and self-reflection, she was still approaching relationships as a way to get her needs met, rather than as a genuine connection between two people. Serena, you just got out of a long relationship a few months ago. You are not interested in me romantically. You are interested in not being alone. That is not true, she protested. I have had time to think about everything, and I realized that what we had was special. Maybe I was too damaged before to see it, but I can see it now. What we had was not special, I said as gently as I could. What we had was me giving everything and you taking everything. That is not love, and it is not friendship. It is codependency. She started to argue, but I continued. Besides, I am in love with someone else now. Someone who loves me back the same way I love her. Someone who does not need me to fix her problems but wants me to share her life. That stopped her arguments cold. I think until that moment, she had assumed I was still carrying a torch for her, waiting for her to finally see my worth. Are you going to marry her? She asked quietly. I hope so, I said. We have talked about it. The conversation was over after that. She said she was happy for me, though I could see it was hard for her to say. We hugged goodbye, and she said she hoped I would be happy. Walking back to my car, I felt a profound sense of closure. For 2 years, Serena had been the center of my universe. For the year after that, she had been the source of my greatest pain and growth. Now she was just someone I used to know. When I got home, Maya was cooking dinner and asked how it went. I told her about the conversation, including Serena's suggestion that we try something romantic. How did that make you feel? She asked, sad for her. I said, honestly. But also grateful that I am not that person anymore. What person? The person who would have said yes just because someone finally wanted me back. Maya smiled and kissed me. I am glad you are not that person too. But mostly I am glad you are the person you are now. That night, lying in bed next to someone who loves me for who I am rather than what I can provide, I thought about the journey that led me here. Losing Serena was devastating at the time, but it forced me to examine what I really wanted in love and life. I wanted partnership, not caretaking. I wanted someone who chose me enthusiastically, not someone who settled for me when their first choice was not available. I wanted someone who saw my value before I had to prove it through endless sacrifice. Maya gives me all of that and more. She challenges me to be better while accepting me as I am. She shares her problems with me not because she needs me to fix them, but because she wants me to understand her world. She celebrates my successes without feeling diminished by them. This is what love looks like when it is healthy and mutual, and built on respect rather than need.